What's up guys, it's Naf here. So as of the 5th of February this year, there was an update permanently introducing the Mimic boss to the game and also making it available to Ironmen. And the tokens to kill this boss were now acquirable through killing monsters and also skilling. Now I personally have only managed to get 58 Mimic kill tokens, over gaining around 381 million experience since the update, so they certainly are quite rare. Although a good amount of that experience is Invention XP, which never seemed to give any Mimic tokens, for me personally, but regardless, they still aren't something you should expect too often. So considering they were quite rare, I was interested in killing this boss on the Elite difficulty. Now for context, I had never actually killed this boss when it was previously available on the Treasure Hunter, nor did I really ever look into it. So starting off, I kind of just expected to be able to go in with my fancy tier 90 weapon, give the boss the ol'
"What's up boss, it's Naf here,"
collect my loot, and make the video without too much effort. But this certainly was not the case. Being extremely honest, the first 20 kills or so nearly took me a whole 2 hours, which sounds okay if you compare it to a standard boss kind of like Araxi, but this boss only actually gives you a maximum of 2.5 minutes to kill it before you get booted out and need to try again. Which for me was my biggest hurdle, as the mechanics themselves weren't too hard to avoid. So although it was an extremely frustrating first couple of hours, it did give me some real insight about how important certain things are to your DPS. Because honestly, it's not something I've often paid attention to in the past, because realistically, there's nothing that actually tracks your DPS, apart from getting a personal best on a boss, and even then for me, I usually felt like my personal bests were just when I got lucky with critical hits, and just not splashing on the boss as much as normal. So the first thing I needed to change was my action bars. So this is a thing I know in theory was pretty bad. I pretty much was just using the same bar for everything, often with the AoE abilities at the front, since I hardly would notice a difference between most of the basic abilities. Next was the auras. So for me, Vampirism is always my go-to aura, and when that's on cooldown I usually lean towards Penance, since those auras for me always had a very noticeable benefit. Unlike the DPS auras, such as Berserker, Reckless, and Manacle, which I understand on paper were useful, since that's what the auras literally said they would do, increase my damage, but in the past I never really noticed myself getting personal bests on anything when specifically using these auras. And the last thing was Adrenaline building. So similar to the last two things, on paper I get why some people do these things before starting a boss encounter, but I never bothered as I always felt it was not needed. But it wasn't until I actually started utilizing these three things correctly that I could actually manage to beat the boss timer pretty much 100% of the time, outside of getting hit a few too many times and losing too much damage because of it. So after my first 2 hours or so of consistently failing, I did finish off the remaining 48 Mimic kills within about 3 hours or so, when I was able to comfortably beat the boss, and it was actually kind of fun. And now for the huge loot chests. Now, I do only have 46 here. I did accidentally open one, mistaking it for the Mimic kill token when trying to start a new kill, which did give me a Slayer VIP ticket, and the other loot chest was due to a disconnect where I still somehow managed to kill the boss, but of course I couldn't actually pick up the loot. But nonetheless, I'm hoping 56 loot chests will give something worthwhile, and keep in mind I currently have 19 Slayer VIP tickets, so I will subtract that number from the total I have after opening all of these loot chests to know how many I have gotten. So there we go, 20 Scrimshaws of Aggression, 2 Scrimshaws of Sacrifice, and a Scrimshaw of Corruption, some cosmetic tokens, and Slayer VIP tickets, as well as 195k gold. So obviously the gold and cosmetics aren't really of interest to me, but 20 Slayer VIP tickets is genuinely pretty valuable to me, as I don't do Slayer often, and when I do, I'd rather be pretty picky about the tasks I'm doing. And then there are the Scrimshaws, which going into this was what I was most interested in, and not only that, but the Scrimshaw of Aggression was the one I wanted the most. Now technically I've never used one of these, but from what I've read, it essentially is a budget aggression potion, in that it will only make one enemy aggressive to you at a time, as opposed to everything around you like an aggression potion would. Now considering I'm really lazy and never do farming, I don't see myself ever having aggression potions on my Ironman, so I'm really interested to see if I can make use of these for farming something like Ascension creatures, considering as long as one thing can attack me, I should be able to use Corruption Blast or Corruption Shot to get aggro on the rest, or at least that's what I'm hoping for, but we'll find out when I actually get around to using them. But that's pretty much it for this one. Nothing crazy, but if you are a relatively high level Ironman with a T90 weapon, I'd say once you get a decent amount of Mimic Kill tokens, so you can spend a few hours working on this boss, it is worth it. Not only for the Scrimshaws, but if you're anything like me, it'll probably force you to get a little bit better at the combat system, which is never a bad thing. But that is it for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.